This is Texans TV. Texans Extra Points is sponsored by BHP and by Reliant, the official energy provider of the Houston Texans, and by your Houston area Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas.
We are ready to rock in Houston. Touchdown, Houston! Are you kidding? What a catch! Oh, baby!
Well, for one final time, we're doing a Texans Extra Points, and we're so happy that you're with us. I'm Drew Dougherty. I'm the host of this show, and I'm really happy that Ron the Show Hughley from Sports Radio 610 in the afternoons is with you already.
I'm closing it out?
You're closing it out, yeah.
Oh, well, I feel honored to be
the
chosen
headliner
to close
of sorts,
it out.
Right?
That's right. Save the best for last, baby.
Yeah, we got a lot to get into because we're talking about this game against the Titans. We're also talking about the future, and we're going to do that in a moment. But first, we start with some news of the week in Texans land. It's the quick hits section of the show, and this is a good final game for the Texans. It's a 17th game, first time they've ever done that, and they're doing so against a team that has high hopes. If the Titans come in here and win this contest, they're the number one seed in the AFC, which means they have a bye and they have home field advantage throughout. The Texans, well, they're not going to be in the playoffs. They've lost 12 games, but they wouldn't mind wrecking the plans of an AFC South foe.
Each game counts. Doesn't matter what the record says or anything. If you can have an impact on this team or just impact on somebody else's team or ruin the playoffs or whatever case may be, that's, but at the end of the day, we're just here to get a win.
Perhaps more important than scrambling the eggs of the Titans' playoff hopes is what Davis Mills does at quarterback on Sunday for the Texans.
Yeah, I don't think the message and our goal for this week doesn't really change to any other weeks. We're just got to come out and do our jobs and execute at a high level. Obviously, it's the last chance we have to go out there and perform this week. But, I mean, everyone's excited to go out there and ready for another challenge.
Big boost for the Texans coming back from COVID are a slew of players, including offensive lineman Tytus Howard.
Playing multiple positions, it takes a special guy to do that, especially early. COVID has forced us to do a lot of those things too. But, again, we know a lot more, and we have a lot of players back this week, and we'll need them all to beat a great Tennessee team.
And who is this Titans bunch? Well, they come to town with Deontay Foreman. That's a familiar face. Grew up down the road in Texas City and then went to the University of Texas before becoming a Texan a few years after. And now he's in Tennessee. He's coming off a 100-yard game.
They have not changed from the last time that we played them. They're still doing the same things offensively, defensively. It's a very physical football team. Obviously, they like running the ball, and when they're running the ball and their quarterback is distributing it, that's a very good football team.
Okie doke, that's a little of what's going on in Texans news for the week. Ron the Show Hughley with me. But the big news I think around here is, what does Davis Mills do next? I think there's a lot of folks wondering, hey, is this the guy for the future as a starter long term? Is he going to be a backup? What is going on there? What have you seen from him that you've liked, and what do you want to see him improve upon?
Well, there's been some good and some bad, which you would expect from a young quarterback. Yep. I think, though, as we're moving to the latter part of the year, you're seeing more good. I think him sitting down after he had those starts, because it was forced into action, that was not, I believe, the plan. But him sitting down, getting to watch a little bit, and then coming back has shown to really help him. But the thing that I think you got to be happy with is, I believe he's at least now earned the ability to compete for a starting job next year.
Yeah,
I'm not one that says, let's just give it to him.
Right.
But I think he's at least earned. And if you remember some of those starts against Buffalo, against the Cardinals, I'm not sure if you thought you would be in that spot where you felt like he's earned the right to do that.
Yeah, I was going to say, at minimum, from that early stretch of the season, he's taken leaps and bounds in the right direction. That's been very, very encouraging. Now, if you were asking, say, Santa Claus for a wish list, or you had a wish list for Santa Claus for the young playmakers on this offense, what would be on that wish list that you want to see Sunday against the Titans?
I want to see Brevin Jordan get more involved and to really kind of make an effort to try to get him in matchups. And I'd like to see one thing we haven't gotten to see from Nico Collins. I want to see the downfield threat. Right, we've seen a lot of possession receiver stuff, and with his size, you can get that. But man, I'd love to see him in a fade situation to go up and use his body, go get the ball. But man, if you're talking about a wish list from Santa, like I'd like to see Nico Collins the down the field threat, if that's possible.
I like it. You just said fade, and we like fades because there were some slot fades going on last week with Brandon Cooks, and there was a really pretty pass up the left sideline that our John Harris is taking a look at here with the Telestrator.
Welcome to Texas Telestrator, presented by BMW. I'm John Harris. We're going to take a look at one of the best wide receivers in the NFL and why he is one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, and that is Brandon Cooks. This is against the 49ers, and you're going to see a number of different things that I really like about this play. And we'll get to Brandon at the end, so we'll save the best for last. But it's a third down play on the touchdown drive, game 0-0. Couple of things. First of all, you see this little swap right here. The Texans come out empty, no backs. Rex is the only running back there. You got Farrell right here is the only tight end. So you got 11 personnel, one back, one tight end. And you're going to swap them. And when these two guys move, Davis knows for a fact, okay, this is man coverage. I know this is man coverage. So they're going to lock up all across the board here, these guys here, and they're going to leave the free safety, Jaquiski Tart, free. So man free, cover one, pure cover one. What I love about this, and I've seen the Texans do this over the years with Andre Johnson, DeAndre Hopkins, and now with Brandon Cooks, if you put your best receiver in the slot, that forces the defense to make a decision. Do I take my best cover guy and put him on Brandon Cooks and tell them exactly this is man coverage, you're going to know it? Or do you take your chances and say, we're going to put our nickel, in this case, K'Wan Williams, a good player, mind you, but not your starting perimeter corner. You're going to put him on him and go, yeah, we're going to take our chances. Well, you end up getting burned. Now, one of the reasons I like Brandon being in the slot here is the route they end up running. Because they know it's man, outside, I believe that's Chris Conley, he's just going to kind of shake and like hitch up here. Because what the Texans want to do with Tart staying in the middle of the field is they want to open up all this area out here. And so Brandon, being better than K'Wan Williams, knows get up into this guy, get up into him, and then you got all this room to work. So you want to get that outside release that's going to give you time, and then Davis can throw a dime right there. That's kind of the point. Williams does not take away that outside leverage. He probably should because he knows he's got help in here, but he doesn't take it away because Brandon does a great job at the line of scrimmage. So if you got young receivers at the house, watch. Watch Brandon get loose. He gets in him and he kind of gives that little slide step, feet, and then boom, he's going to explode by him. At this point, I'm standing right over here. I can see this and I know it's a completion because I know he's not getting out of the middle of the field. Everybody else, kind of locked up. But with that little bit of separation right there, I know Brandon's going to get this one. Now, all Williams can do at this point is, uh-oh, I'm in trouble. Right there, he knows he's in trouble. He's starting to grab. Davis has already let the ball go. So he's throwing it to that diamond, and I mean, that is just a beautiful throw. But he's not able to make that throw unless Brandon's able to get that separation, which he does. And it made a lot of us very, very happy. Brandon Cooks is the man. You try and man up on him, and he's going to take you to town just like that.
Tannehill takes the snap. He's got time. He throws. It's picked off. Rouge Hill, right side run. 30, 40, to the 50. Right sideline. 30, 20, 15, 10, 5, and he's down at the 5-yard line. Could not make it all the way as Hilliard brings him down. But the Texans have a first and goal after the pick by Kamu Grugier-Hill.
We are back. Kamu Grugier-Hill with an 82-yard interception return. One of 5 takeaways for the Texans against the Titans the first time these two teams played. Not going to be as sloppy and rainy there or here as it was there. But good to have you with us, Ron. The show, Hughley. Well, let's talk about this defense. He's been one of the very impressive bright spots on this team. But looking forward, 2022, Who are some building blocks that you've seen get put in place that, hey, I'm encouraged by?
Well, the number one, especially young guy, and I think you can maybe look at that overall, is Jonathan Grenard.
Yeah.
And, man, the toughest thing, and I've always heard this, hey, what's the first thing you want to do? You want to get that franchise quarterback, that guy that can make plays, and then what's the next thing? You want to get the guy that can stop him.
Sure.
And if you find a young guy that can stop him coming off the edge, Jonathan Grenard has shown to improve in a major way in this system. So he is one you want to continue to see get there. Really, man, before he had a lot of the COVID or injury issues, man, you thought this guy's going to be easy to
like
get.
A sack per game with him.
Yeah, double-digit sacks. So you like what you're seeing there. You still want to see more growth from Ross Blacklock. You'd like to see that combination of those two guys from the inside. And I think Ross has taken a step from last year, but those two guys really stand out. And then, God, Drew, it's just hard for me to give up on Lonnie Johnson Jr.
Yeah.
There's just when you look at him, he gets off the bus now. That's exactly what you're looking
He's
for.
He's talented. There's no doubt about that.
And when he moved to number one, he even looks like bigger and more, and more intense.
Stretched him out a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know, whatever. Man, he looks the part. And the versatility to be able to play multiple things. Boy, I just don't want to give up on that guy with that size and speed. You feel like there's something there. So he's another one of the young guys to watch. But that defensive line, man, if you can stop the quarterback, that helps a ton, and you hope those guys continue to grow.
I've been really encouraged by Roy Lopez too. He does,
Yeah.
he does the dirtiest of dirty work because of the position he plays. But came in, he started just about every game after week one. There was a COVID blip there that's gotten a lot of guys, but I've really been impressed with what Lopez has done, and he's going to be important. The rest of those guys up front, like you're talking about, going to be important against this run game of the Titans. Now, you're not going to see King Henry. He has been practicing this week. They're getting him ramped up for the playoffs. But you're going to see Deontay Foreman, who the Texans know we've seen what he can do well, and at times he has flashed. And he's flashed a few times, now 3 times, over the 100-yard mark over the last 5 or 6 games. That guy can play. That team can run the ball, especially with a line up front that's pretty salty.
It's kind of built in their DNA.
Yeah.
They're going to run the football no matter who's back there. And it took them a little bit after Henry got injured. There were some times where they didn't mesh things up. But now they've got a formula with actually 2 former Texans to be odd, as you talk about Former and Hilliard. But they're going to run the football and up front, and it's in their DNA. And they're not going to come off it unless you force them to, right? And they're going to use Ryan Tannehill in the run game too, so he adds to it. So these guys up front, the front 7 is going to be critical in this. Camu Crugier-Hill, as we talked about, Christian Kirksey. This is not as much of a, use the cover 2 to get back with your linebackers. First and foremost, you've got to stop the run in a major way, because if they're able to run the ball well, then that brings the play action game into it, and then those big receivers, and now you got a problem because your linebackers are up front trying to come up, and there's not a lot of support on the back end. So stopping the run from that front 7 in particular will be huge in this game.
Yeah, it's a great point you make about linebacker play being at a premium, because it's especially the case like you're talking about this week, and they got to get that going for sure, and then need a good game from Camu Crugier-Hill. All right, we got some Texans trivia, and we'll have the answer later, but the question is this. Last time these 2 teams played, just 2 guys scored for the Houston Texans in the game. Who were they? We got that answer later on in Texans Extra Points. Tell me about your hair. How long is your hair going to grow?
Nah, it needs a cut. It needs a cut.
I'm not judging. I'm just wondering.
Right, I got you. No, yeah, it needs a cut. But my nana's the one that does my hair. Or originally it was my nana, my sister. She now does my hair.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty much the thing. I haven't been able to have her out here for a game for a while. So she's the one that touches my hair. She don't want nobody else touching my hair. So I let her have that.
All right, we're back here on Texans Extra Points. Ron the Show Hughley, me, Drew Dougherty. Luckily, we both have heads of hair, and that's a good thing.
You're being nice, Drew.
I'm not going to speak for you, but I'll speak for myself. It's not as nice as Roy Lopez's head of hair. He was talking about that and who cuts it and all that stuff. So
Yeah, Drew, I've got about 12, 13 months with my hair. So I'm not in the same ballpark.
It's
as
on
you.
the head. It's on your head, man. You're not bald.
Not yet. It's coming though.
All right, well, let's talk about Ryan Tannehill. You touched a little bit on him and how he's very, very valuable in the run game, but he's got some weapons to throw to, namely in a guy who's probably going to be in the Hall of Fame in Julio Jones. I mean, can we agree on that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then another guy who, if he keeps playing this way, is going to be there too in A.J. Brown. How dangerous is that trio, so to speak?
It's dangerous and very, very dangerous. And the worst part about it is, to me, that's how you beat the Titans.
Isn't that wild?
Yes, is you have to make it a Ryan Tannehill game. That's the best way, because if they're running the football, especially if Henry is playing, if they're running the football, that's the bread and butter, right? What you have to do is on one end score and make it a place where they can't just turn around and run it over and over again. And the best way to beat them is to hope that Tannehill makes mistakes, because we all watched it in the first game right here against the Texans. He'll make some mistakes and he'll put it out there for you. Now, he did not have Julio in that first game, and I know Brown got hurt in that game, which helped the Texans. But still, when Brown was in there, you see the best way to beat them is to make it a Ryan Tannehill game and not a running game for them. And so even though it's scary to think, A.J. Brown and Julio Jones and that secondary, but that's the way you got to beat them.
Yeah, and you've got to be very, very protective, because we've mentioned this a little bit on the show earlier. Jeffrey Simmons and the rest of that line, nasty. But that's not the only good components of that defense. They got a familiar face in Zach Cunningham now, who's actually playing pretty well for them.
You got to feel, one, he's playing pretty well for them. Their linebacker coach and their defensive coordinator has spoken very highly of him since he's been there. You got to believe he's a man on a mission.
Sure.
Like, this one has been circled 3 times in red ink for him in this game, you would assume. So this is one he wants. So that's one you got to look out for. Where I'd expect for him to come out and try to, 15 tackles or something, make huge plays in this game.
He's one of about 10 players, give or take 2 or 3, you might give to, that used to be Houston Texans. And they've been Texans of all degrees, all across the field, offense, defense. I mean, there's a lot of former players that are now in Nashville playing for these guys that are going to be back in NRG Stadium here. Okay, we got into players to watch. Who are you keeping your eye on Sunday here in NRG Stadium?
So mine is, as we kind of keep on the theme of, hey, today's game and future, my player to watch is Tytus Howard.
Yep.
And he's just practiced this week now off of the COVID list, which is great to see him. But hopefully, with the line together, he goes back at left tackle. And I think Tytus Howard playing left tackle, we talk about what you got out of Davis Mills. I think also finding out if you have Tytus Howard as a left tackle. You draft him in the first round, and he showed he could play right tackle. I don't think guard is the best spot for him.
Yeah.
But left tackle, I've liked what he's done there. And he can open up a ton of options for you if he shows you the belief that he can play at left tackle. There's a lot of things that this team could do with what their roster is constructed and in the draft if he can be a stalwart there on the left side of the line. So I'm really watching him to see if he takes more steps, because Harold Landry is a real pass rusher they have there. And if he can handle him the way he has done in the past. I liked what he did with Myles Garrett last year and really wanted to see him go up against Nick Bosa last week, but this will be a good thing to see him on the left side again.
I like it. You're looking both Sunday and long term with your player to watch. Tytus Howard is his. I'm going to go with Jonathan Grenard. Let's get after Ryan Tannehill. He was talking about, hey, we've seen Tannehill make some mistakes, and Grenard is a guy who can capitalize on some of that. All right, when we come back, we've got the answer to Texans Trivia Plus. We've got to get into keys to a victory. Don't you go anywhere. This is Texans Extra Points.
Texans Extra Points has been sponsored by BHP, by Reliant, the official energy provider of the Houston Texans, and by Cigna, together all the way.
All right, we got the answer to your Texans trivia question. The last time the Texans and Titans played, only 2 players from Houston scored. Can you name them?
I'd say Tyrod Taylor.
Yes.
And the kicker, Fairbairn.
That's right. Kaimi Fairbairn and Tyrod Taylor accounted for all the points in that victory. That was pretty good. let's get into keys to a victory. What must the Texans do? What two things? What do they have to do to come away victorious? It's our Ticketmaster keys to a win.
I think very similar to the first game. Now, you can't expect it the way that you did it, but I think they've got to turn the Titans over. They've got to get some extra possessions there for their offense to help win this game the way they did the first time. And they've got to find the rhythm that they found against the Chargers and even the Jags at times offensively. And I think Davis Mills maybe potentially hitting some big plays is something, because I think the Titans secondary can be had. So up front, as we've been talking about, holding up against that defensive line to try to make some bigger plays like they did against the Chargers.
All right, I'm going to go with something sort of similar. I'm not going to say, hey, you got to run the ball the way you did against the Chargers, because that's the only time you've done it all season. I'm not going to say, hey, let's go average 6 yards a carry, because that's probably not realistic. But get positive yardage when you do run, and maybe take advantage of the passing game and get some short little gains that way. Danny Amendola's back. Do we see Danny Amendola? Do we see little stuff going to Cooks, going to Collins across the middle and all that? And then on top of that, let's explode. Get some explosive plays, because you are absolutely right. They can be had. You can get the good deep stuff going, and we want to see more of that from Davis Mills. You like the slot fade stuff, but keep going down the field. And if it does come in the form of a PI on Brandon Cooks,
it's just as good.
That works. Yeah, that moves the chains even more. So I want to see explosion and an asterisk run game going. Okay? Ron, always good to have you on the show.
Right.
We really appreciate it. This is the final episode of Texans Extra Points. It's been another fun season with you, and we appreciate you watching. Next week, it's Texans 360, so don't miss out on that. And as always, if you want to come see a game, just go to HoustonTexans.com/tickets and come experience game day together. The good folks that put this show together, like Caroline Jordan and Tyler Marcotte. I'm Drew. We'll see you next time, and until then, go Texans. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to know when we post new content.